白岩学園3年 B 組の皆さん、こんにちは。
Alright. Hey guys, how's it going? So, yeah, a bit of a bummer. Sin couldn't make it, which is, super lame. Apparently he's under the weather. Sorry, my insomnia is still ever present, so I'm always just about to pass out. It's terrible. Anyway, yeah, I guess, in lieu of Sin, and our discussion on Aslan, I think I'd like to go ahead and talk about movies and narratives, just for a little while, because this is something that has been on my mind a lot, and since I am not going to be talking with Sin about Aslan, I'll go ahead and talk about something that's been on my mind. I made mention of this in a stream that I did earlier today, but that stream is now gone, so I will discuss it here in slightly, well, I guess just with, yeah, I'll discuss it here. My main thoughts are very similar to Brundlefly's. Brundlefly put it so nicely, and I'm really upset that he described it so succinctly and so well. I wish that I had come up with it first. It's so disappointing for me and myself. Anyway, he was saying that the ideal is for life to imitate art, and not for art to imitate life. And I agree with that, because what happens when you have art imitating life? Well, life is messy and dirty and terrible. Life is actually not organized in any sense, in any way. And we don't need representations of abject horror. You end up with sort of a Lovecraftian nightmare. And that's no good. Art should not be terrifying. I mean, unless there's... Art can be terrifying if... God, how do I phrase this? Art can be terrifying in as much as it can represent things that are real. I do agree that there are elements of realism in good art. But the thing that's behind it, in my opinion, is you're describing something that is transcendent. You're describing something that a person ought to either aspire to or maybe avoid, or something of this nature. And in as much as there are horrifying things that do happen in the world, it's okay to represent those horrifying things, but I think that there should be more than simply a mimicking of something that's terrible. Because if all you're doing is mimicking things that are terrible, well, I could actually go outside and I could watch, I don't know, a decomposing corpse. There's roadkill here and there in Los Angeles, and I could just go and look at some roadkill and feel really bummed out that, some squirrel got hit by a car. I don't need to have a freaking movie dedicating 2.5 hours of my life to, some weird bullcrap that's shot on a really nice camera. It's a complete waste of time. And I think that there's a sickness within Western civilization. There's a sickness in our psyche, in the psyche of Western humans, Western man. And I think that this giving over to nihilism, this giving over to meaninglessness, I think that our rather bad television and movies, I think these are just a symptom. These are just an expression. This is a manifestation of the condition of humans, Western humans, basically having lost their way. I was mentioning the television show Goliath earlier today, and one of the problems that I have with the television show Goliath is that his character's not going anywhere. He's not really doing anything. Yeah, sure, he's a brilliant lawyer, blah, blah, blah. But there's nothing to it. He's not doing anything. There is no greater goal. His only goal is to what? Win a case? That's it. That's his big goal. That's his big thing. Nothing against it. The first season, his big case was this chick who... I don't remember the exact plot point, but it had something to do with her... I think maybe it was her husband or something. I don't remember. Was involved in some kind of a big corporation or whatever, and they were doing, dastardly things or something. And the main character of Goliath, he was going to take down this big corporation through the court case or something like that. And yeah, sure, that's it's good drama and all that good stuff. At the same time, his goal wasn't really to take down the corporation. It was mostly just to win the case. And I don't know, it just came off as kind of like a thing that a person does, and that's it. And I don't find that compelling. That doesn't apply to me. I can't relate to it. I mean, in as much as, yeah, sure, I also just do things. I also just perform tasks. It's not particularly compelling to watch a person just, perform job functions, unless those job functions are in some way super duper important in some particular way. But within the context of the drama of Goliath, it's sort of like, well, yeah, I know it's all fiction, I know it's all fake, and it didn't seem to be important. I can't even explain it. Anyway, coming back from all of that, the point here is that basically Goliath is just a representation of normal life in a way, and it's not pointing to anything. There's nothing particularly transcendent about it. It's shot well. It looks great. The costumes are fantastic. The sets are gorgeous. The character of Billy McBride, he lives in a hotel room, And the set dressers, they did a really good job of creating what actually does look like a real hotel inside. I mean, it's obviously a soundstage. If you know what to look for, it's painfully obvious. But I mean, even still, it's like it's well executed. There's very good craftsmanship going on, and that's the only thing that I can say for it. That's the only thing going on for the entire television show. I don't need to watch good set dressing. I don't need to watch good set decorating. I don't need to watch, excellent cinematography. The thing that I really want to see is something that's important is too neat a word to use in this context. I don't want to see something important exactly, but I feel a gaping hole in my life, I guess. Maybe not in my life, but just in civilization, in where I am. There is nothing to root for. There's nothing to cheer for. The vast majority of Western civilization is just in a pitiful state, and there's really nothing that I can really raise my head to and look and say that is a worthy thing, except for, of course, the one thing, which happens to be 14 things. That's the only thing that I can look to and say that is worthy of time and attention. But that's just a defensive measure. That's just the fact that I noticed that my people are dying. That's it. When you really stop and think about it, that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing that this is what we've been reduced to. And yet this is what we've been reduced to. We need to get out of that. And I think the only way to get out of that is to have good narratives. We have to have a mythology. We have to have a story. The big American experiment was great in the early 1800s. Oh man, everything was in an expansion mindset. They were doing things, they were making things. The Industrial Revolution kicked off. Really cool stuff was going on. Civil War aside, there were some really. That was the latter part of the mid 1800s, but the point still stands. All the way up into the Civil War times. That was a great little bracket of time. That was a neat little window of really cool stuff going down. And I can't help but think to myself, it'd be neat if something like that, if we had something like that. We're not going to have anything like that. So we're going to have to come up with some kind of a de facto story, some kind of a de facto narrative that allows us to cohere with reality, that allows us to behave in accord with our present circumstance. And the present circumstance, of course, is the decline, it's the death of the West. And I think that we need to think about what kinds of narratives we can tell ourselves so that as we face the decline, as we face, I don't think it's going to be extinction. Obviously, that's a meme, and that meme has been it's been implanted. But we can turn that around, by the way. We can use that against them. So it's actually not that bad. The use of language, rather, is not that bad. We can find a way to turn it against them, since they are accusing us of being evil and terrible and worthy of an extinction-level event. The only thing we need to do is turn it around and basically point to them and say, look, you are the ones who are genocidal and you wish for our extinction. So you're clearly evil people. You should not be wishing for the extinction of a people. You're terrible. Please stop it. So that can be turned around. Anyway, with regards to a narrative, a story that we could use, that we could employ to kind of guide us through the next several decades, possibly centuries, I think that narrative is going to have to include that we're in decline, we're going to be persecuted, and it's going to be pretty rough stuff, pretty freaking rough stuff. It's not going to be pleasant. I don't know what that narrative looks like. I mean, I always feel so ridiculous. I always feel so silly because I talk about a lot of things that are going on and problems, and I always seem to say things like, I don't know. That sucks. I wish I did know. I wish I had an answer, because these problems, I just realized I didn't transition to my favorite image. I'm going to transition to my favorite image. Boom. Now we're good. I wish that I had answers. I wish that I had places, or rather, I wish I had a direction to move to that I could point to and say, look, I'm moving there. Everyone needs to follow. Maybe not me, but just the movement pattern, moving towards something. I wish that I had that. Yeah, I guess the next little while, because the narrative, it's not just a matter of narrative for stories, it's also mythological. We do need to revive religion and mythology. And the closest I've found to a mythology that kind of makes sense for Westerners is Christianity. I know a lot of people are going to accuse me of cucking for Christ on a stick, and there is something to be said for that. At the same time, it served well for a long time. There's a rich tradition and history that's backing it. It's something. It's better than nothing. I would love to see some kind of a new covenant or something, because what we've got right now is not working out. That's clear to me. It's not enough to stave off the onslaught. It's not enough to fend off the attackers. Right now, Christianity is in a poor spot, just as Western civilization is. It's my opinion that what's happening in Christianity is more or less a symptom of the core disease, and the core disease is a failed mythology. I actually do agree with Joseph Campbell on this point. I think that we have a failed mythology, and that failed mythology, the problem is that the mythological systems that we have are inadequate for dealing with our present situation. Without an adequate mythology, we don't have an ability to fully comprehend the world around us. I've noticed that there have been multiple times when the world seems borderline incomprehensible to me, just a cacophony of meaningless sights and sounds. The way that an infant experiences reality. Without filters, an infant literally is having a borderline psychedelic, like LSD experience. Just crazy freaking visuals that are happening. Awesome sounds and vivid colors just bouncing across their retinas. And without a mythology, we're kind of like that. We just have experiences. We just have sensory experiences. But the sensory experiences are largely meaningless because the filter is not adequate for dealing with the sensory experience. So then the experience just kind of goes in without too many filters, or at least with inadequate filters. And that's when you end up, this is why I kind of think that H.P. Lovecraft had his big vibe, his big thing, because in some way I kind of imagine that H.P. Lovecraft was a latent Christian that kind of understood that mythology was dying and that it was inadequate to deal with the world. So when you have these monsters, these ancients coming out of the ocean, that's basically like he didn't have. In a way, you could say he didn't have Godzilla. All of the deep-rooted psychological issues, because the monsters are his psychological issues. The ocean is his subconscious. Okay. So all of these monsters coming out of his subconscious, he didn't have a Godzilla to fight them off. So he was just hounded and plagued by problems that had no real resolution to them. And of course, the fact that they were always ancients or whatever, it seems to suggest that it just suggests that he was in that kind of a state of mind. I don't know how to explain it. It doesn't make any sense once I actually say it out loud, but this is just the impression that I get. And I think that, I think the reason that the H.P. Lovecraft motif has held sway for so long, for, good God, about 100 years now, I think, honestly, that it's because that's basically the zeitgeist. The zeitgeist is a failed mythology. The zeitgeist is an intellectual system that is inadequate for dealing with contemporary problems. And H.P. Lovecraft's stories are just manifestation. We need to find a way out. We just need to find a way out. That's really what it comes down to. And with regards to my own media projects, I'm hoping to kind of echo some of the better parts of mythology, so that there is something higher to be pointed towards, something better that we can say that serves as a model, that better thing serves as a model. That's what I think we should be doing, and I guess I'm gonna come back to that in just a few minutes. I'm going to talk about a couple of movies that I like. I didn't actually write down a list, so I guess I'm going to think about that list as I roll through the chat. I'm tempted to use my favorite movie of all time as my point of discussion, but I'm not sure just yet. But yeah, I'm gonna talk about a couple of movies that might be worth watching, things that actually do have, in my opinion, good themes. But before I talk about movies, I'm going to check the chat, and I'm going to see what's going on in chat. Oh, hey, Jonathan Paul, what's going down, buddy? Okay, yes, I was late, and it's super duper embarrassing. And yes, Trivium, I actually am into movies. Movies are my first love. It's kind of, it's really a love-hate relationship, because I absolutely love movies, and I am terribly disappointed with, yeah, exactly, 99% of flicks do suck, and that I hold the exact same view. It's terrible. Let's see here. Mr. Fahrenheit says, hello, fellow YouTube chatters. There better not be any... Oh, no, we can't have that here. We cannot have that. Mr. Fahrenheit, I completely agree. We're going to have to rouse them all out of here. Okay. Let's see here. Also, Eke, was the movie you were talking about called Bushwick? Yes, it was. And Bushwick is not the greatest movie. It's an adequate execution of a good concept that ultimately ended up being a bad script and a bad story. So make of that what you will. Yeah, it's hard to describe. The movie Bushwick was actually really engaging and really entertaining for the first, I think, 20 minutes or so. But then once the gimmick ran dry, it was kind of like, well, this is now just an academic exercise. And then by the time they got to the ending, it was sort of like, oh, this is it. This is what's going on. I'm going to ruin it for everyone because no one's going to watch it and it doesn't really matter. Yeah, about like the nearing... Okay, so it's about these two people that are going through what is basically a civil war. And the Civil War is initiated by a bunch of Southerners who decide they're going to go in and just do a hostile takeover of Washington, D.C., New York, or whatever. And these two people, they are in the middle of this right-wing death squad. And as the movie moves along, they go from place to place to place trying to survive the right-wing death squads. And at one point, the protagonist, her protector, is this big meaty guy who's like ex-military, I think. Her protector is ambushed and killed in a very undignified manner. It's not a good death at all. It's a wasted death, by the way. And so she has to make the last part of the movie, the last push to her ultimate destination on her own. And as she moves toward her destination, she ends up helping somebody, and then she herself also gets killed, and again in a very undignified and largely meaningless way. So basically the entire movie really is just a giant shit show that ends in disappointment. It's not... There's nothing really to model your life after, because even the big meaty ex-military guy... Yeah, sure, he takes her in, but only, like, he does so not wanting to take her on as a responsibility, and she imposes herself on him. And then, like, they do kind of seem to form a little bit of a bond, but I don't know, there are no real bonds in there. Like, her sister's in the movie, but her sister turns out to be kind of a whore, and you're like, dude, this is kind of lame. You know, and her sister, like, tries to bone the ex-military dude or whatever for reasons that don't really make any sense. Yeah, it's just a lot of like vindictive bullcrap that happens in that movie, and it's basically a giant middle finger to the South and a giant middle finger to America. And I didn't really care for it. It's just, yeah, it's an example of exactly what I was talking about, which is it's not a good narrative, it's not a good story. You can't apply it to anything, and there are no real models for behavior in the movie. So I think fundamentally it's a retarded movie. But that's just me. You know, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong. All right, Trivium. I am lagging bad for some reason. Pagans are based in the scientific principle. Hashtag not all. Some are based, some are not. But whatever, it doesn't really matter. Let's see here. Odin's quest for wisdom is never ending, and he is willing to pay any price for the understanding of life's mysteries that he craves more than anything else. I'm into that. I'm actually totally into that. That's consistent and compatible with Luciferianism. Next, the scientific principles were defined by Acer, Asatru, etc., ancient Greek and Roman culture with the 7 liberal arts. Trivium is the scientific method to recognize logical fallacies. Yeah, I used to know the trivium by heart. What is it? It's grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Those are the last. I think one of the first is like mathematics and like something else. I forget. But yeah, I like the finisher of logic and rhetoric. That's a nice. I like it. It works. Okay. Everyone needs to look up William Mann. Oh, okay. All right. Or William Marr, actually. Okay, William Marr. We'll check out William Marr. All right. Oh, yeah, there it is. Grammar, logic, rhetoric. Yeah, there you go, man. Like computer input, process output. Yeah, exactly. You must be able to recognize logical fallacies before you process info, or your output rhetoric will be wrong. I completely agree. The quadrivium is the reason people you call pagan and heathen have made art that cannot be matched to this day. Yeah, I do agree that the a lot of the stuff that was going on earlier is in the art world is vastly superior to what we have right now. It's unfortunate. Okay, so I guess I'm going to go ahead and come back to the formal movie discussion, like of good movies. Some movies that I think are good and worth watching. Okay, so some of these movies are, you know, maybe I want to take a break, actually. Maybe I want to take a break and then talk about movies, because then I can have some peanut butter. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to have a bite of banana and peanut butter, and while I do that, I'm going to play some music, because I freaking love music. We're going to play a track. Oh, that's right. That's what we're going to play. Okay, we're going to play a track that I happen to like. This is Off the Wall by Little Walter. Little Walter was both a degenerate and a goddamn heathen. However, he was an amazing harmonica player. So for all of his faults, and there were many, this is a great track. What are you going to do? It's a really, really good track. So while I have myself a little bit of banana, peanut butter, and some cinnamon cookie, I'm going to play some Little Walter. Circa 1952 or 54, I forget. But at any rate, it's been around the block once or thrice, and it's a great track. So here we are, Little Walter, Off the Wall. Rest in peace, eardrums. In 3, 2, 1. Oh, jeez. The music just ended and I didn't notice. Sorry about that. Okay, my apologies. Alright. Sorry about that. Okay. So, alright, a movie that I think I'm going to go ahead and talk about. And I really like this movie a lot, and I'm kind of bummed out because I'm going to be basically, this is all spoilers. Everything that I'm going to talk about is all spoilers. That said, I do recommend checking out the movie because it actually is really good for what it is. It's a movie that was produced in 2009 by some no-name director that I don't recall. And he was highly talented, in my opinion. I don't know what he's doing now. I'm suddenly kind of curious because I may want to check out some of his other work. The movie is Pandorum, and let me just ask if anyone has even heard of Pandorum. Chat, has anyone heard of Pandorum? Press 1 if you have heard of Pandorum. Okay. It's a movie it starts off with a guy that, oh nice, Julian Groyper is going to know what I'm talking about. Outstanding. This is brilliant. Okay, so Julian Groyper is going to he's going to be able to keep me in check as I forget details or as I make mistakes in my interpretation. Jonathan Pohl. You can check it out on, I'm very sure that you'd be able to find it on Netflix, like on the DVD section, not the streaming section. Well worth it. Well worth it. It's a very silly movie, but it's great. And it starts off with this guy waking up in some kind of chamber. You know those cryogenic style chambers like from the movie Alien and Aliens, stuff like that, where somebody is, they're in a stasis of some kind. He wakes up and he exits his little tube or whatever. And after he exits, he notices that he's in a dark room, all alone. And obviously, of course, he's naked because he just had his little thing. So he somehow finds a locker and he dresses himself and he starts looking around. And as he looks around, he finds another little tube and he sees somebody inside of it. And he wakes that person up. And then he asks the guy, "What the hell is going on? Who am I? Who are you? What's going on?" And the other guy can't remember either. So it's a neat little a little concept where they're stuck in some kind of a scenario where they have to figure out what the hell is even going on. I think that's kind of cool from a writing standpoint. The plot of the movie is to find out what the plot of the movie is. For some reason, that's really funny to me. They end up figuring out that they are on an ancient spaceship. And this ancient spaceship has been traveling through space for hundreds of years. And the crew, they've been cycling through in phases. So like one part of the crew will be active for a while, then a different part of the crew will be active for a little while, and so on and so forth. However, some kind of a weird calamity has beset the crew, and so now the ship is largely powered down, and there are little critters wandering around the ship that are capturing and killing the crew members, what crew members still are alive. And they figure out that the core, the power generator of the ship is actually about to go offline, and that this will end the life of everyone on the ship if the core goes down. So the plot of the movie, once they figured that out, the plot of the movie then becomes they have to get to the core to push the button before the core kills everyone. It's a very simple plot mechanism. It's a very simple plot device, and you know what? I like it. That's the kind of stuff that I love. Something that's simple, comprehensible, you get it, and it's even kind of enjoyable. because it sets you up for a trek. It sets you up for a journey, you know? It's really cool. There are even stakes involved. Everyone's going to die. There you go. Now, as they progress, they meet other characters who tell various stories about how they got to where they are and what they're doing. People who have survived the little critters end up being these battle-hardened weirdos. The two that are in the movie are some dude who I think is like Thai, Vietnamese, or something like that. Malaysian, maybe. I'm not sure what. And he's a very agile little dude, and he manages to escape the little critters. And the other survivor that is run into is some German chick. I mean, in real life, she's German. In the narrative of the movie, I don't think it really matters. She's just, you know, a survivor, and that's about it. And these three people, they make it their mission to get to the reactor to push the button. And as they continue on their way, the woman, she basically tells the rough story of how she survived, which I don't recall. I think it was important to the plot, kind of. And the Malaysian guy, he doesn't speak English, so whatever, it doesn't really matter. But they do get to a room where there is a guy who has a very interesting story about how he woke up and what he discovered about the ship and his interpretation of the ship. And his interpretation, I think he's called like a cook or the cook or something like that. He's this weird, like, haggard black guy who limps or something like that because he suffered an injury or something. And this weird, haggard cook guy, he traps these people in some kind of a room, in some kind of a chamber, where there's a slime all the way around the walls. Now, the point of this slime is that this is what the cook eats. He eats the slime because that's all there is on the ship. All the systems have powered down. Everything is powered down. Oh, that's right, the German chick. She ended up surviving because she somehow figured out a way to garden. There's like a special part of the ship that was set up for gardening, and for some reason she knows how to garden. Again, it makes sense within the context of the movie, so we'll just go with it. The cook, on the other hand, wasn't so lucky. The only thing that he ended up being able to secure for a food source was just this weird slime, and he needs protein. And how does he get his protein? He eats people. So he strings these people up, and he gets ready to eat them. And before he eats them, he tells them the story of the ship. And the story of the ship goes more or less as such. The ship was constructed and thrown out into space because Earth was dying. And so as Earth was dying, they basically created Noah's Ark, but in outer space. And they found some kind of a planet that was amenable to human life. And the Pandorum ship was designed for a one-way trip to get there, and that's it. And the ship ended up getting off course. Something happened to the ship, and it was discovered that they're not going anywhere. They're just kind of adrift or something like that. I don't remember how it was explained exactly, but basically the ship was no longer in working order. And the crew, once they discovered this, once they figured out that their situation was hopeless, once they figured out that their situation was lost, they kind of went crazy. They kind of went a little batty. And as they went a little bit batty, oh, that's right, there was some kind of a super special serum that they were given that would help them to adapt to the planet. So it was, you know, it's a silly plot device that what's the difference between fantasy and sci-fi? The difference between fantasy and sci-fi is that sci-fi, they take a silly bullshit concept and they try to make it sound like it could be rooted in reality. As where with fantasy, they're honest enough to say, nope, this is complete magic, so fuck it, whatever. Within the context of the movie Pandorum, the fantasy element that is described in sci-fi terms is that there's this super special serum that allows people to adapt to their surroundings. So the serum was released, the population was released, then the serum was released on the population, and over the course of centuries of this spaceship just being adrift in a sea of nothing, the population began to morph. It began to adapt to life on the ship. So yeah, they became pale. They got kind of strong. They were, they can do really weird stuff. Again, in the context of the movie, it kind of makes sense. It kind of doesn't make sense, but it kind of does make sense. And so the ship ended up becoming a giant horror show, a little horror show of monsters, but the monsters are actually mutated humans. And that's what the little critters have been, that have been hunting them and killing all of the crew. And so what strikes me about this is that this is actually a mythological system that's being described. This is actually a mythology, if you stop and think about it. It's a story that, within the context of the drama, obviously we're not talking about a mythology that can exist outside of the drama, but within the drama, it functions as a mythology. And that's what I find so interesting, because the writer kind of seemed to understand something, and he was basically describing unintentionally where Western civilization itself is, which is adrift in a sea of nothing, where people have basically become kind of monsters. That's actually the mythology that's being pushed on us right now. I mean, think about it. Western civilization has lost God, which means that the concept of being adrift with no greater goals, that's kind of where we are. And the radical left, in their system, they do view humans as being monsters. So it's completely consistent. It's completely consistent, and I find that very interesting. So yeah, I do recommend Pandorum, because, and of course, I'm missing a lot of points. I'm leaving a lot out. I haven't even described the ending. I'm really only just giving you the reason why I think it was interesting. Point of reference, funny thing, just a funny thing. The actor who plays Daryl in The Walking Dead, the first time I ever saw him was in this movie Pandorum. And it came out 1 year before he did The Walking Dead, so it just makes me wonder, like, what did the Walking Dead casting agent, did he see Pandorum and just be like, oh wow, actually that's a pretty good performance, I'll be damned. I don't know, this is weird. It's really, really weird. But yeah, I would recommend Pandorum as a really good B movie. It's not an A movie, it's a B movie. But I think it's a good B movie because it's got a really neat concept, and the execution is like 50-50. Half of the execution is brilliant, and the other half of the execution is not so good. There are a few super cringy moments or scenes in that movie. However, I would say that if you're willing to give it a shot, it's actually pretty entertaining. And not only is it entertaining, I think it's interesting in as much as it describes a complete mythological system, which is rare. Like, you don't really hear stuff like that discussed anywhere, let alone in movies. So yeah, if anyone's interested, I would go ahead and say, yeah, check out Pandorum, 2009. Good God, 9 years ago? You believe that? Oh, where does the time go? Good God. All right, I'm gonna check chat. Hey Charlene, what's going down? I'm going to check chat to see what's going on. I wonder if Julian Groiper has noticed any striking holes in my description of Pandorum. That would be funny. Let's see here. Trivium says Christians nowadays are not known for hunting other religions down and killing them. That's true. Christians have become kind of cucks. It's unfortunate, but this is the case. It's just the way that it is. Elaine at Trivium, I used to be a part of that atheist movement, and it's totally degenerate and anti-white Christian, or any kind of spiritual belief, really. I agree with that. Okay, well, this is going into interpersonal stuff mostly. So where are we? Norvin is a pagan. Yeah. Okay, cool. So basically, oh hey, what's going on? Ilian Sabatino. Except Islam, they love Muslims. It's crazy. Yeah, I know. It's funny. Yeah. Okay, so I would say that and I do agree, by the way, that pagans are largely LARPers. And anyone that calls themselves a pagan, well, no, I guess I don't really see much of a difference between a pagan and a Wiccan functionally, in that there is no orthodoxy set between the two, or even independently. There's no orthodoxy for pagans, which is the reason why I can't really get behind them. With Christianity, there's at least some kind of an orthodoxy. There's something that you can point to and say, look, that is Christianity. These are the tenets. I kind of get that. As with paganism, there's nothing of the sort, which is lamentable. In my heart of hearts, I do actually wish for something like paganism. The only reason that I default to Christianity is just out of convenience more than anything else. Yes, I'm lazy and pragmatic. I don't know what else to do. Oh, midsummer. Is it the solstice today? I was wondering. I thought the solstice was on the 20th for some reason. Let me check out summer solstice for this for 2018. Uh, 21st. Okay, so it looks like it passed. That's what it looks like. Yeah, because it's only for 3 days. Just like the winter solstice is only for 3 days, so it's been passed, but so the days are getting shorter now. But at any rate, yeah, I'm definitely enjoying this. Summer. I can definitely say that much. Yeah, I don't know if I agree or disagree with. No, you're Charlene. You're not missing. It's okay. There are like a million freaking weird days to remember. Now, I wouldn't even worry about it. Yeah, I don't know if I agree or disagree with Protestantism not having an orthodoxy. I guess I only think of things like canon. I guess I'm going to have to think about the difference between a canon and orthodoxy, or rather a creed and orthodoxy. Okay, so I guess I'm going to have to start thinking about what those words mean before I go using them without a full comprehension. Okay, that's fine. What's another good movie? I guess, I mean, it's easy for me to talk about my favorite movie, but I just wonder if it, I mean, there are mythological elements to it. Yeah, I guess I am going to talk about my favorite movie. Okay, I will talk about my favorite movie. But before I talk about my favorite movie, I do want to go ahead and finish my banana and have a couple more cookies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play another track, and this track is called Borderline. It's by Duet, and they are a synthwave band from a couple years ago. I don't really know much about them, but I just kind of like their vibe for some reason. I don't really know why. I went through a phase a couple years ago where, for whatever reason, I really got into like sarcastically good shitty synthwave. I don't know how to describe it other than that. It's sarcastically good shitty synthwave. Like, it's intended to sound like shitty synthwave, but it's really well structured. So it's like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's weirdly entertaining, even though I never would have expected to like something so almost frivolous. It's really weird. Anyway, without too much more description, here is Borderline by Duet. Rest in peace, eardrums. In 3, 2, 1... Oh gosh, it happened again. I got caught up in the music, and I forgot to check to see where it was. My apologies. Alright. Oh gosh. My bad. I actually haven't heard that track in a while. Oh, there we are. Alright. No, we're not all pagans. HIV positive transgender. It's a funny username. I like that one. It's funny. I always knew that it was HIV positive transgender. But in my head, I always just read it as HIVP. And only now am I actually reading it out loud. And I think it's the reading out loud that makes it so funny. Okay. Sorry, I'm just getting myself situated here. Okay. So I guess I kind of want to talk about another movie, even though it's like an entire conversation going on about religion right now, and that is a genuinely important question or topic, but I kind of feel as though it would be better served with another person and myself bouncing off of that person, or maybe two other people bouncing off of each other, and then me more or less interjecting with questions that I might have or something like that, because some of the stuff is like super interesting and important. Yeah, hey, I was thinking about doing a stream on it. I think that would be a hell of a thing, Julian Graper. If you would ever be interested in streaming about it, I would like to. I'm not even joking, because this Newman concept is very interesting. Because Content Watcher, he was discussing the idea of a new revelation, that he thinks that a new revelation is what's needed. And I thought that was a much better solution than mine, which was to simply revive something that already exists. But the problem, of course, is that since paganism as we know it has failed, then obviously that doesn't seem like a really good thing to try to revive, since it's already failed. In exactly the same way that, yeah, but Christianity also failed. In as much as, has it saved the West? Yes or no? The answer is no. Christianity has not saved the West from the fate that it suffers right now. So de facto, it has failed. And reviving it, I don't think is going to be super duper useful. But then again, maybe, I mean, since the West has become super feminized, it's possible, maybe, I don't know, that if one were to revive Christianity, but just ensure that it was within a more masculinized society, Christianity would regain some of its former glory. I don't know if that's the case. I'm genuinely not sure. But it does strike me as interesting that you can look at it from two angles. You can either look at it from the Content Watcher standpoint of looking for a new revelation, or you can look at it from the standpoint of, yeah, we could revive it, but that revivification would only be possible within a masculine society, not within a feminine society. The feminine society, obviously, is incapable of protecting people. It's incapable of halting people at boundaries of borders, because fundamentally, it seems anyway as though the female aspect is less concerned with borders. It's less concerned with boundaries. It's less concerned with drawing a line in the sand and saying you shall not pass. The female aspect doesn't seem to have that quite as ingrained as the male aspect. So who knows, maybe Christianity would be just fine if we just went back to a more patriarchal society. I don't know. But I do agree that it would be more interesting to look at Newman. So I'll go ahead and look into that and think on it. And yeah, again, if you're into a stream on it, I'd be very interested in either participating, hosting, or even just listening. So yeah, anyway. Fahrenheit says the race is what matters, the religion question can wait. Part of me agrees with that, and part of me doesn't agree with that. I think that for pragmatic reasons, I am forced to agree with that because it would be better to preserve people. Rather, what is it? A guy suffers a stab wound. You want to treat the stab wound. He may actually have issues with his family, or he may have problems with his job that totally need to be sorted out, or something like that. But you know, if he just got stabbed, you need to treat the stab wound. So in that sense, Mr. Fahrenheit, I completely agree. So yeah, maybe I should go ahead and rescind the triage thing. Really does need to be the formal focus. Okay, and HIV positive transgender. No, we are not all pagans. I am obviously a nihilist, so clearly this is where we are. All right, let's continue down. Okay, here we are. What are they debating? Oh gosh, I don't know if anyone's debating anything. Oh, Johnson Fuentes. Oh, okay. That's funny. I should look into that. Rather, I'm going to be interested in watching some of that. Oh God, I missed the Mark Collette, David Duke thing today for the JF channel. I was doing something. I had to like run errands. It's such a bummer. There's so many things going on, so many good things going on. Never seems to be enough time. Okay, Nick is Catholic. I get the impression he wants to make Catholic white ethno-state. I'd be okay with that. I would be okay with that. I'm a sedevacantist. Okay. Alright, I don't know what that is, but okay. Alright, cool. Let's see here. True Trivium, being raised Catholic has helped me connect the dots into paganism. Although I've only dabbled in it. Oh yeah, most of it's hard to explain. Paganism is actually not that bad in certain aspects. It's just that it's not structured the way that Christianity is structured. So I find it difficult to get my head around it, and it seems as though that's the problem that most people have with it. A lot of pagans, they end up devolving into being just freaking Wiccans or some bullcrap. It's stupid. And they usually have like retarded orgies or some crap. It's just lame, but whatever. Let's see here. Pagan for legal reasons. Okay, all right, fair enough. Pagan for legal reasons. I'll take it. Let's see here. Have you ever seen The Virgin Spring? Oh no, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that at all. Wouldn't that be Poland? Okay, I'm not sure what's going on there, but if Virgin Springs movie, I've definitely not seen that. Let's see here. Less concerned with logic. LOL. Okay, yeah, I guess maybe me too. Here there is an attempt to revive Zoroastrianism. That would be an interesting thing. That would be very interesting. I mean, I would be okay with that. That'd be super cool, because I can't help but think that Islam, since they're the invasive ideology, yeah, go back to roots, man. Zoroastrianism sounds dope. I'm down with that. I'm completely down with that. All right, let's see here. It is for the most part a blank sheet because they killed it in the past. Oh yeah, it sucks. Yeah, this is one of the reasons why, like, what is it? The quote-unquote druids in frickin' Ireland, they always sound like gits, because yeah, like the entire, it all died, and the only thing that they have now, it's like a caricature and a cartoon version of it, and that's what they're trying to base their life off of. It doesn't make any sense. All right, religion can't wait if it's real. It could be risky. Religion can't wait if it's real. It could be risky. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to go down that. I don't want to go down that path right now. I'm a little bit too tired. It turns out I'm completely delirious. Maybe it's a good thing that Sin and I weren't able to do our stream tonight, because I'm only half conscious, and I'm rapidly declining in my ability to think. All right. Well, this is because the feminine aura was characterized by the moon, chaotic, mysterious, and beautiful. The male being solar, strong, predictable, masculine. Yeah. Moon involves change, and that's why it's associated with the female, because the females, they go through cycles and they go through changes. Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. Okay. I am not set up for it right now. Maybe later would be fun. Oh, talking about a stream. if you want to talk about a stream too, Trivium, I'd be down with that. Here, I'll throw my Twitter in the chat. Follow me. For the right reason. There you go. Boom, done. Okay, cool. Let's see here. Jonathan says at Julian Groiper, Kurdistan is much more Islamic than former Soviet Central Asian states like Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan, or even what remains of Ataturk's legacy in Turkey. Really, that's interesting. That's interesting. Well, I mean, that would make some sense because of all of the Islamic State stuff going on over there. So yeah, I can see that. Okay, let's see here. I'm a Catholic, but a nihilist in practice. Ridiculous. Okay. Let's see here. Trivium knows very little about Catholics. Okay. Feminism is terrorism. I completely agree. Let's see here. Jonathan Pohl. Interesting. Maybe the English speaking Kurds imposes a selection bias on the ones I've spoken to. Oh, okay. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Excuse me. Sorry, the peanut butter is getting in my throat. Okay. And Jonathan Pohl says at Groiber, my Kurdish is limited, so most Kurds I speak with are English speakers, but Islam is stronger here than either secularism or Zoroastrian. Yeah, I can see that. See here, Trivium says, do you know about the Druid Order based in England? Very old stuff. No, I don't. There are lots of things that I could stand to know about that I just don't know about. Let's see here. Seems less acute from form than in other parts of Mesopotamia and Levant. Oh, okay, yeah. I don't know, man. The Islamic State is the one that's going and going like hardcore. The Saudi Arabians, they're not going hardcore at all. So maybe the acute form of Islam actually is in the Levant. Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't understand what you're saying, Julian Groiper. My apologies. I'm only half awake right now. Okay. HIV positive gender says, so are people here in agreement on the JQ for the most? I think so. Let's see here. Disagree that it did, but that's okay. Let's see here. Yeah, I kind of want to go to like the old Druid Order, or rather, I want to hear more about that. The only problem, of course, is that I don't want to go to London because I don't speak Urdu, but whatever. Alright, the Virgin Spring is great if you like that part of history where Catholicism met paganism. Yeah, I do need to learn more about Catholicism because, in all honesty, I don't know that much about Catholicism. It's a real bummer. Alright, I think HIV positive transgender, I mean, maybe we are in agreement, maybe we're not. No, I'm going to say we're not. I'm going to say we're not in agreement. Because that's usually the way that it goes. Get enough people in a room, and you're going to end up with real disagreements. And I can see my own view. I can see my own view on the situation. I honestly think that there are elite groups of Jewish people that really do have certain seats of power. Excuse me. And it's my opinion that these elites are using the rest of the Jews as a meat shield. I think it's more a matter of convenience, but that's just personal opinion. I could be wrong. The average Jewish person that I've met on the street is typically quite bland, just, some person, not very interesting. So I think of it really as just being an elite problem. Of course, one of the major issues is that the elites, they're drawing off of certain kinds of concepts that are also widely believed by other people within the community. So I can see how there'd be some there'd be some bleed through that would cause people to imagine either a monolithic group or a complicit group. I lean towards complicit, but that's just me. That's just where I am. And Folklore Americana popped by. Hello, Folklore Americana. Nice to see you. Haven't seen you post in a couple of days. So, cheers. So there we go. Okay, Jonathan Pohl says at Groiper, yes, the Islamic parties have limited support here. There is a rise of Shia power in Iraq, fueled by Iran. I am not sure what is happening in the Levant. I still see the Shia as largely being the loser's side, but that's just me. I will admit that I'm cribbing Robert Spencer when I say that. But I see Shia as going not in a good direction. That is to say, I don't see them as being in a winning position, even with all that backing in Iraq. But that's just me. All right, Travis Hunt says, Eke, do you like the band Opeth? I don't know who Opeth is, so I have to default to no. Not that I dislike them, but no, I don't like them, only because I don't know about them. And then Charlene says, British TV is awful, but I'm going to check it out. Oh, wait, what were we talking about? Oh, okay, called Mayday. All right, there's an interesting pagan-themed TV show aired a few years ago called Mayday. Okay, cool, yeah, I'll check it. Hey, Jake, what's going down, buddy? I was going to talk about my favorite movie, and the time really got away from me, so I'm going to call the stream in the very near future, because I'm just exhausted. Yeah, the movie that I wanted to talk about is The Shining, and that's genuinely my favorite movie ever. And I think that it does have deep mythological themes embedded within it, and that's the reason why I like it. And the way that the filter that I use to understand The Shining is that it's about our relationship with violence and with evil and with poor behavior. So that's how I view The Shining, and the way that I look at this is the building, the Overlook Hotel, is evil itself, evil personified, and Jack, he only ends up becoming evil because he chooses to participate with the building. All he ever had to do is just leave the building. All he ever had to do is just tell the building to fuck off, and then, just leave, and that's it. The building then has no power, and whatever. This was the plan by Wendy, and it would have worked. The plan of just saying, nope, I'm not going to be part of that, and everything would have been fine. So as where Jack was willing to participate with badness, because Jack had some weakness that allowed him to participate with badness, he became bad. As where Wendy, she was less inclined to participate with the badness of the building. That said, Wendy is also not completely clean on this, in as much as she did participate with the badness that was Jack, and her participation with Jack was what ultimately led to her being in danger and the life of her child also being in danger, because she was permissive, because she went along with things that she should not have gone along with. So I like to view The Shining as being one. It's a movie that describes participation with badness, and that this is the idea that I use to watch The Shining. Yeah, gosh, really out of nowhere, I just got really exhausted, and that sucks. I'm gonna have to call the stream in the very near future because I can feel myself actually falling asleep in between sentences. It's not good. Richard Dewey, my apologies. Sin was feeling really under the weather, and so he was not able to make it. He is he's okay. He's just in recovery mode. I think he had some kind of a flu or something like that. I'm not sure what, but he ended up having to turn in early, so he was unable to make it. So I'm going to have to reschedule a discussion on Aslan, which is why I ended up going on about movies earlier. So it's technically no one's fault. I don't hold anything against him. Obviously, I like him. He's a good guy. But yeah, we're gonna have to reschedule. So that's why it's a different theme tonight. It's unfortunate. It's too bad when you get an idea in your head and then it doesn't work out and you're kind of bummed. Oh well, what are you gonna do? All right, let's keep going up into the chat briefly. But yeah, I do want to say one final thing about The Shining. Definitely check it out, and I would say check out the Rob Ager, a YouTuber, Rob Ager. He's got a lot of videos about The Shining, and they're interesting, and I like them. I don't agree with all of them. I think that he's reaching a little bit with the Native American thing, But I mean, whatever. I'm not gonna, whatever. Even if I disagree with the analysis, it's still fun to hear analysis. Sorry about that. Earlier this evening, I had a steak and I had some wine. Then I finished it up with some root beer, and it was great for a long time. And out of nowhere, just over the past like half hour, I just got super tired. It's terrible. Okay, yeah, and Jakey Jake, huge fan of Kubrick too. He's one of my favorites. I love freaking Kubrick, man. He's great. Okay, let's see here. I'm subbed to a stream that just plays train videos. That's funny. That's ridiculous. All right, okay. Let's see here. I just realized why I'm not getting notifications. No bell. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you gotta hit the bell button, man. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, he was based. Kubrick was absolutely based. I completely agree with that. See here. Are you a fan of Thomas the Tank Engine? Alright, I like how Thomas the Tank is making another appearance. That's really funny. Alright, anything that is not pause is the losing side because they will never get US dollars. Oh, okay, that's some kind of another topic, I think maybe about Islam. I'm not sure. The Middle East, maybe. All right, Jakey has been talking to a Nibba cook. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, he has, as have I, of course. Okay, now we're movie quoting. That's fine, too. Read the Christopher Parkenhurst article that mentions The Shining. I can't remember its name, but just search it at Countercurrents. Okay, actually, I will check that out. Let's see here, Christopher. I have to do this now, otherwise I'll forget. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of boomer posting, and there's nothing I can do about that. Okay, and boom, done. Parkenhurst. Oh, Countercurrents is right. Countercurrents. Okay, good. There we are. Situation handled, and let's go back to the chat. Let's see here. I enjoyed the Simpsons spoof. Yeah, that's right. That was funny. Was it all work and no beer make Homer something something? Yeah, I like it. All right. Let's see here. Let's continue down. Thomas and friends are fascists. That's okay. I like the Milkers painting above the Nibba. Oh yeah, that was really funny. When I first saw that movie, I almost like physically laughed when I saw that shot. It was really funny. All right, why do you live stream so late at night? There's actually reasons for that I am not going to currently disclose, but just generally, I live in Los Angeles. It's not easy to do anything here. Los Angeles is super duper paused, and I have to do everything at like weird hours. I have to do everything behind closed doors. Nobody that one person that I know in real life knows that I even stream. If this stream were to stop happening, the only people that would know about it would be you guys, and that's it. There is a goddamn firewall between myself in private and myself in public. And that's just how it has to be. Okay, HIV positive. I'm sub to Train 1 2. I love it. Everyone's sub to a Train freaking channel. That's so funny. Let's see here. In the Shining move. Oh, yeah, what are we talking about? Let's see here. Why do you stream so late at night in the Shining move? Okay, yeah, I'm not sure what the second part of that was. Okay, it's fine. Let's see here. New York Post or something had an article about how it was fascist world because of the authoritarian fat controller. Yeah, well, but I mean, New York Post is retarded, so whatever. All right, did he say that Blackfoot Indians built a hotel? Oh, no, I don't think that Rob Ager goes in that direction. He simply says that the Native Americans were a featured plot point. That's as far as he goes. The idea that the Blackfoot Indians built a hotel, I've never even heard of that concept. For me, the Indian thing is mostly a matter of. I mean, I do kind of agree with the idea of the Indians basically serving as a flag for evil that has been covered up. So, again, we're talking about our relationship with evil and our relationship with violence. and the hotel is built on violence. So when Jack agrees to do evil on behalf of the hotel, he is partly agreeing to do something for an entity that is built on evil, or built on an evil deed anyway. That's my takeaway from it. All right, and then Charlene says, I take a trip to the lake in the opening shot of The Shining every couple of years. Oh, you lucky duck. That's right, because you are in Montana, if I recall, and the, what is it, the Rising Sun Road or Sun Road or something like that? Yeah, that's in Montana somewhere. Yeah, I would totally take that trip if I lived there. I'm not even joking. I have no interest really in traveling, except strangely to like that place. For whatever reason, I do want to travel to Sun Road. Yeah, going to the Sun Road. Okay, yeah. That's like the only destination in America that sounds kind of cool to go to. And haunted, nice. I'll take it. I like it. All right, let's see here. You're a Crypto WN. Who's a Crypto WN? See here, I'm subbed in Train 1 2. Okay, I'm not sure what that's all about, but okay. Let's see here. Charlene is the lucky duck. Yeah, she is. Okay, because they did. I seen a photo. It is a very long story. Oh, okay. What are we talking about? Did you say? Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Well, I'd be interested in hearing about it, but maybe not tonight, because I'm genuinely falling asleep. The insomnia has taken its toll again, so I'm gonna have to call this in the very near future. See here, Kubrick uses long opening shots on the trip to the hotel to reduce the human effect. Yeah, I think you're right. Because he's basically indicating loneliness, and he's indicating isolation. So yeah, I get that. See here. Well, I just didn't know who you meant, HIV positive. Who you meant to say was a crypto white nationalist, but whatever, it doesn't matter. All right. iGov took it from the Blackfoot. Oh, okay. But they do not want to make a big deal about it. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. I should check. Oh God, I have so many things to look into. The list is never ending. Okay. I like, in spirit I want to. The mind is willing, but the flesh is not. I want to keep streaming, but I can feel myself just like my energy sapping with every moment. I keep like half nodding off between sentences and reminding myself. I have to keep reminding myself what I'm even saying. So I think I'm going to go ahead and call the stream. I don't want to, but I think I got to call the stream. So I'm going to play one last track as the outro track. This track is going to be just, a favorite of mine. It's Sleepwalkers by Lone. And before I go, I'm going to go ahead and say the 4 rules, because they are important. Rule number 1, treat every firearm like it's loaded. Rule number 2, never cover or sweep anything that you're not willing to destroy. Rule number 3, your finger stays off of the trigger until your sights are on target. And the 4th and final rule is be aware of your target and what's beyond it. Safety first. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just like super tired, like just out of nowhere. I just got like I got wiped. So hopefully tomorrow I'll be in better health, and hopefully so will Sin. Maybe we can do our stream tomorrow. And in the meantime, I'm going to leave you all with Lone, with Sleepwalkers by Lone. Transitioning. Oh yeah, and good night, guys. Cheers. Brush your teeth and floss. All right, guys. Rest in peace, eardrums. In 3, 2, 1.